Yes, I'm live. And I'm choosing a filter. Crush! Glow Crush. I like Crush. Slate. I like that. Noir. I like that. I love Bubbles. I love that one. Glamour. 8 millimeter. This one, I love it so much. So, I love my life. I love my life. And today I want to discuss how to embrace change. Embracing change and lack of structure. Things change in the summer when kids go to school. Changes for everyone. Parents probably notice it the most, and kids probably notice it the most too. But everyone notices. It affects everyone. So, this is an attempt to describe how to embrace and love change. First of all, things are always working out for me. That's where I'm starting from. Things are always working out for me. That is my mentality. Things are always working out for me. Even the table that my stand is standing on to record my video, everything is working out for my benefit. Things are always working out for me. Always. That's my opinion. And that's what matters to me. It matters that I think that things are always working out for me. That's what matters the most is for me. That's my mentality. It doesn't, no one has to agree with that at all. No one. No one at all. No one has to agree. That's what I'm, that's how I'm That's how I've decided to look at the world. I see the world as it's like an amusement park, Earth. And I heard someone recently say that it is simultaneously the worst time and the best time. And I think it's a good way of looking at it. So it's a challenging time, and there is never been a greater for potential for things happening the way we want them, having a wonderful time. And there has also never been such a time as this to have like the worst time possible, because there are just endless things that we can complain about and worry about. And so it's maybe, possibly, never been more challenging than now. I love my life. I try to constantly remind myself. So I was going to say at the very top of my journal, some of the best advice I've heard in a long time recently was, you don't have to explain nothing to nobody. And I just was like, whoa. When I heard that, it resonated. It rung my bell. Dong. Doot, 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 doot. It rung this bell, this brain, because I was like, whoa. I explain things constantly to people. And somehow I've gotten in the habit of doing that. And it is so not helpful to do that all the time. It's not necessary to always be explaining things. I realized it took up so much of my time explaining things to people. What? I don't need to do that ever. So, and also there's three things at the top of my journal. The first thing was, don't ever feel guilty about anything you ever do, good or bad. So, an extreme example would be if you are in a situation, you actually committed a crime and it affected a lot of people, and you're doing time for it. So, you've gone through the process of admitting that you were guilty, you showed up, and you're paying for it. So that's actually a good thing. You're paying for it. You're doing time for it. You're doing community service. You are actually literally in jail or prison. You don't have to feel guilty. It's not a requirement to be in prison to actually feel guilty. So we don't ever have to feel guilty. It even works in extreme situations. Now, there are things where naturally we're going to feel waves of guilt for when we actually commit a crime. But often what I notice is we haven't even done anything wrong and we're feeling guilty. We're so in the habit of it. So, in my humble opinion, and I'm just going to start with the disclosure now, the disclaimer. I am not a health professional, anything. If you need help professional, don't come to me. I am not here to advise anyone of anything, health related or otherwise. I have no credentials. The only thing that I have is that I'm a citizen of the country I was born in. I am a citizen of Earth. I am here on Earth. I was born here. But other than that, it's not even worth mentioning. I went to school for music and I have a certificate of it. And it and it and it brings me nothing in terms of it in anything. You can't get a job, can't secure employment with it. No. So that setting that aside, I want to make it as explicitly clear when it comes to health stuff, when it comes to depression, when it comes to mental illness. I am not the person to come to for advice. What I'm talking about is sharing things that have worked for me. A lot of people, it's actually, I have a disclosure on my YouTube videos that say this is includes paid promotion because while I don't have that yet, I might in the future. So I want to cover myself. But when it comes to that's a disclosure, I may in the future want to promote something. I'm not promoting anything now. It's not. There's no paid promotion. And when it comes to health, wellness, this is my personal opinion. I want to make that explicitly clear. I'm not here to try to get anyone to do what I say. So please don't take it that way. What I see as my ideas and my opinions are things that can help me in addition to getting professional help. So you have the right to look at it that way. You have the right to, in addition to help from your doctor, therapist, physician, whatever, this is certainly not medical advice, but health advice, a health disclaimer. This is what this is. I am not doing that. So don't take it as my opinion. Take it as what I think works for me, and I just want to share it. And if it helps somebody, if it helps inspire you, wonderful. So we don't ever have to feel guilty about anything we do, good or bad. So I'm talking about, in my opinion, unless I commit a crime against the government of the city, state, province, country, whatever, I have done nothing wrong unless I commit a crime, unless I go to court and admit my guilt. So now, if I am throwing things at people, which I don't, if I'm screaming at people obscenities, which I don't, then that is harassment. And so um, that is that is debatably something that we did that's questionable, that's bad, that may be seen as bad, seen as abusive. But even in that case, what we can do, there's things that we can do. Say, for example, someone says, you know what, this person was harassing me, and I can say, well, how can I make this right? And then the person can say, well, actually, I want you to be arrested. I want you to go to jail. Then I can just plead the fifth there. I can get a lawyer, and then I can work it out in the legal system. But it doesn't require, so like if I actually did something wrong, like let's say I actually, which I haven't, let's say I actually threw something at someone and it hurt them. What I can do is actually I can admit that I did that, and then um, through mediation or a lawyer or just an agreement between the person, I can say, what can I do to make this right? I'm willing to do community service. I'm willing to do pay a fine. What can I do to make it right? And so it doesn't require guilt. You can have an apology. You can say, well, the person will say, you know what, I want you to pay $1,000 fine. I want you to do 10 hours of community service, and I want you to do to apologize. Now, you can pay your fine, do the service, and make an apology and never feel guilty. But guilty feeling is like any other emotion. It's not bad. It's what's harmful for us is to feel perpetual shame and guilt. And there's a difference between shame and guilt, but regardless of that, I think either one of those is completely unnecessary. Shame can be worse than guilt. But if you're feeling guilty for decades, perpetual guilt, and again, this is my opinion, that is unnecessary. Guilt and shame are unnecessary for perpetually. I have this written on the top of my journal for a reason. We don't ever have to feel guilty, and more specifically, I'm talking about perpetual guilt and shame about something we did. It would be natural, say for example, if you committed a crime or like a crime where you have to do a lot of prison time, it would make sense if you had waves of guilt about that. Even after you apologized, even after you did all your time, even after you did all your service, it would be natural that there'd be a wave of guilt coming through. It's like a tremor, it's like waves on the ocean. There are consequences for our actions. And so, what ends up being debilitating and unnecessarily so is when we have perpetual guilt. And I don't want to talk about I don't want to spend too much time talking about extreme cases. But when you look at, let's say for example, I didn't throw anything, I didn't scream and yell, I didn't yell obscenities, but say I said something that it seemed like There was a misunderstanding, but it seemed like I was blaming and shaming the person that I was talking to. Say, for example, they didn't like what they said, what I said, so they accused me, and they thought and they were hurt because they assumed that I was blaming them. Now, in the past, what I have done when someone got hurt, I assumed responsibility for their hurt. That is unnecessary. This is something that's often debated between people publicly, that the only thing that matters is impact. And I say, no, it's not just the impact. What matters is both intent and impact. And here's my proof. When you actually commit a crime and it's in they're trying to decide if you're guilty, the lawyers and the judges in the criminal system, they look at, was there criminal intent? And that can be a big difference in how you serve time or not, in the fines and the community service and those things. So criminal intent matters. So our intent matters. Say I say something online, it was meant as a joke, and there was innocence behind it because I didn't realize the cultural differences of a very specific group of people. And say, for example, I said something and it was insensitive to their thing. Now, the impact might be a lot of hurt, but I know that I did not cause that. There was not intent, but the impact was the person was upset. So what I can do is say, I'm very sorry that hurt you. I didn't mean it. I didn't understand. And it doesn't justify how you were offended. But what I don't have to say is I don't have to shame. What I'm talking about is how we beat ourselves up here. We don't have to explain things to people, our process. We don't have to we don't have to say, well, I didn't know, and I'm not going to shame myself and blame myself. That's none of their business. It's not even worth saying that. That can be more offensive than what you said in the beginning. So, the impact, it was that it was hurtful. Now, if someone was hurt in the moment that they read something like that, yes, they were hurt in that moment. But then that person, if they torture themselves for years over that same thing, that is on them. Now, some things that we say can be so hurtful to the person that there are things like defamation of character and things. And in that case, criminal intent, it does matter, but so our intent always matters. It's not the whole picture. A person, we could say, well, they should have known. Some of us don't know. So the intent does matter. And if like, say for example, someone says they don't know what I look like, they don't know my weight or anything, they just want to talk about me, and they carelessly make a comment about my weight, and say for example I'm really sensitive about it, and they literally didn't think that I cared. There may have been no intent to harm on their part. But I'm still upset because I'm sensitive in that case. So, intent matters and impact matters. They both matter. In my opinion, this is all my opinion. All of my videos, all of my everything I say. I can't even imagine saying, well, I'm the authority on this and I know all. No, so arrogant. It just comes across as so arrogant. I am not an expert in anything. But in my opinion, intent matters. If somebody comes up to me and says, man, I was just meaning as a joke. I really didn't mean that as an insult. I'm so sorry that. That would really help me. But I actually had somebody years ago, a close friend, who was talking behind my back and just blatant, like aggressive, making fun of me for my weight. Had no idea how I felt about it. And it did hurt. And I decided, I didn't confront them at all. I just decided, you know what? I'm just gonna work this out as much as I can on my own. And I got it. I decided, you know what? I'm gonna use this to help me to grow, and see it as an opportunity. It's not a gift from them. That's where a lot of times I've been confused in the past. I have heard terrible things from people that were clearly offensive. There was an intent to either harm or force me to do things in a certain way, which I don't I don't advise anyone to do. And I have looked at it as an opportunity, but I also said, well, this person was a gift to me. No, they were not a gift to me. It was an opportunity that I saw. I get the credit. Oh my gosh. The whole of the world, the earth, this is, we are co-creating all the time. Where the reason I'm harping on and emphasizing giving ourselves some credit is that so often we don't give ourselves any credit. I grew up around people that they gave all of the credit, all of the credit, all of the glory to God, all the credit, and none to me. It was so painful to live in that. It doesn't even make sense because I can't take all the credit for anything. Even the best of my efforts, there were usually other team members when I was successful in sports, or when if I'm in a classroom and I get a good grade, there were other people involved, the teacher, the students around me, the people that taught the teacher. Oh my gosh, it's just endless. There's no way I could give all the credit to myself. But it's important that I know my part in my own creation. Yes. So as I'm talking, I'm just feel inspired to just spend a moment in in stillness and quiet, because dead air. I love dead air. And it's not dead air. What people call dead air, there's space between words. There's not something happening. I love it because our cumulative time spent in stillness and silence, it allows us to experience inspired action. It allows us to see more opportunities. I love boredom because I look around And what I see is so much activity and movement, and it's unnecessary, spent energy, in my opinion. So when I go out and I exercise, when I walk, what I try to do, my intention is to pretty much do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Everyone else is in the wintertime, people skiing. Just, I love it. I love that people are outside, but my goodness, there is somewhat lack of variety in that type of movement. And it reminds me of people on a bike. Pedal, 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 pedal. They usually don't move their hands, but there's actually bikes where that's awesome. But just never stop pedaling. People walking, people running. The same movement over and over and over. Oh my gosh. What? So, what I do, because I think that when you specialize in that way, it leads to suffering. There's a direct, I believe this is the quote, look it up, see if you can find it. But a man by the name of Ido Portal, he's got a great Instagram, YouTube website, movement culture guy. I believe his quote is, if you specialize, you will suffer. And that principle can apply to just about anything. And it's so counter to what we do. We're always trying to find a niche. We're doing, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I'm committed to this. Oh my gosh, what? Why not have a variety of experiences? If I wanted to live 1,000 years, because I think that that is possible. There are people that we don't have a lot of proof that people live to be over like close to 1,000 years, but there's a lot of evidence that there are people that have lived hundreds of years. And most recently, there's a man that lived somewhere between 197 and 256 years in China, and there were military records that showed that. And he actually was married something like 14 times, many generations, many children. So that's the most believable one. But to recent history, what we what people accept is people the most they live 120. Now, I heard someone recently, this is funny. Someone said the reason that people only live to 120 is that they stopped eating meat, or they 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 started eating meat when they went from almost 1,000 to 120. It's when they started eating meat, and I wholeheartedly, respectfully disagree, and I'm entitled to my opinion, and it is only an opinion. It is only conjecture. It is not professional advice. I am free to say that. I think this could change in my lifetime, but I think that people, and this is just total instinct. I've read stuff about it, but this is all what I trust my intuition, and the best food that I have put in my body for nutrition is meat. And I'm entitled to that opinion. I'm not spreading disinformation. I am just entitled to it. And the reason that I believe that it's true is most importantly meat, beef, chicken, pork. Those are the most easily accessible meats. Meat, chicken, pork, eggs. I consider eggs meat. I don't care what people think. I'm not spreading disinformation. Beef, and there we can it's you can buy and hunt deer, elk, bison. You can buy bison. People raise bison. I don't know that I don't think you can hunt it any longer, but there are types of meat that are as healthy as beef, but beef is the healthiest, and chicken and pork are also very healthy. The reason that I think that we do the best is that our stomachs are acidic and we don't benefit from vegetables the way other animals do. We benefit the most from meat, we benefit from mushrooms and berries and some fruit. But generally speaking, most vegetables, the fiber just goes right through us. We don't, they have a lot of nutrients in them, but we just don't benefit from it. There are oils that are seed oils, generally speaking. Those are not nutritionally, we don't benefit from them, but we benefit a lot from animal fat and butter, which is also animal fat, cheese, milk, those things. We benefit from bone broth, and actually almost all the parts of animals, all the organs. I've heard that certain animals, the fat is just so rank and disgusting that people don't like to eat it. I heard that about alligator. I don't know. I've never eaten alligator fat, but I've eaten alligator meat and it's delicious. But generally speaking, beef fat is so healthy. In my opinion, it's the healthiest fat that there is. And it's probably similar to butter fat, to fat from butter, which butter is fat. Um, but beef fat, in my opinion, is the healthiest fat, and that's above any vegetable oil. Coconut oil is, I think, is healthy oil. Olive oil is healthy, but seed oils do not. We do not get any value from them. Hardly anything, if anything. But now, I don't know why I'm talking about this food so much, but it's something I do talk about a lot. But some people say that the worst thing you can do is eat seed oil, and probably the second is sugar. But I respectfully disagree. Seed oil is almost unavoidable. If you want things like, if you want if you want to eat a tortilla chip, you can spend like $6 or $7 on a bag of chips that have no seed oil in them, or you can just buy the ones with seed oil for like $2. I think that the ones that are that's ridiculous to pay that much. I love them, but I don't. It's not, to me. It's not worth spending that much. And tortilla chips, when you're eating them with tacos and salsa or cheese sauce or something, nachos. I don't want to deprive myself for life from nachos. What? Again, this is not advice, it's just fun. Tortilla chips are fun. And if I believe that they're making me fat and I'm miserable when I'm eating them, this is the point. The reason I'm talking about this, things are always working out for me. So I've kind of lost track of the uh, how to embrace change, embracing embracing change and lack of structure in our lives. Um, the reason I'm talking about things like chips and sugar is that, in my opinion, tortilla chips are fun with corn and cooked. They're better if they're cooked in beef fat. They're better if they're cooked in um, healthy oils, but it's so much more expensive. To me, it's worth it. It's worth the trouble, and our minds are so powerful that we can actually what I see as the cause of being unhealthy. So what I see here, my let's back this way up. I have a particular shape to my body, right? And in my opinion, I do not see myself as fat. I do not see myself as a fat slob. There's a person the other day. I mean, I have people come up to me just like straight up laugh in my face, pointing and making fun of me. I don't care. I do not share their opinion. I understand where their opinion comes from. It first of all, it probably comes from an embedded, deeply embedded shame and self-hatred, because why would you make fun of somebody? But it's often a unconscious conditioning. We have been trained to believe that somebody in my body shape is unhealthy. And the size of my body and the amount of fat on my body is directly related to all kinds of disease. Now, I am not spreading disinformation, misinformation, whatever. I am making it clear. I am not a health professional. I am entitled to my opinion. Please don't come to me for medical or health advice. But I think that when it comes to a cure, because doctors would agree that even if you take medication, medications are only there to treat symptoms. They're not there to cure anything. Surgeries, there's amazing surgeries that can lead us toward health. There are medications that can lead it. I can't deny that. There, when you're in excruciating pain, it can be helpful to have anesthesia, painkillers. Doctors are especially good with trauma. When you lose a limb, it would be so helpful to not be in excruciating pain. There are surgeries that can help with that. Okay, but when it comes to a chronic condition where we have a shape of a body we don't like, to cure that, it could take time, and the I think an essential part of that is deciding I'm going to be healthy today at this weight. And that it can be challenging. I'm going to love myself so much on this day that I'm going to be in perfect health on this day. I'm not saying that anyone shouldn't go to a doctor. You should go to them first. By law, we are expected, we are bound by that. I can't claim to be a doctor. I'm not claiming that. I have my opinion, and my opinion, when it comes to a cure, I believe that we can cure anything. Anything can be cured. And some things are way more difficult than others. Some of them are seemingly impossible. But I've seen people that looked like they were a hopeless case with muscular dystrophy. I saw someone, I wasn't in person, it was on a video, and they clearly looked like they had been in a wheelchair for like a decade because there was so much loss of muscle and structure in their body. They just looked like they'd been sitting there. And I believe that them walking around, that was not faked. I believe that it was real, and I believe that what they achieved was sustainable. And so there's a lot of examples that go to joedispenza.com, go to his YouTube. It's just phenomenal. There's so much science. This is cutting edge science that's backing this up, that's talking about it. People criticize him often that, oh, his papers are not peer reviewed. Oh, how can we believe this? I don't care. Check it out. The purpose of those testimonies is to encourage and inspire people to what was thought to be impossible may be possible now. Muscular dystrophy, tumors the size of eggs all over people's bodies. There's people on his website, it's just phenomenal. Check it out if you can. Are overcoming scientists, doctors. There's one as a cancer researcher on there. Oh my gosh, this person's so inspiring. A physicist. She had tumors the size of eggs. There's two examples I'm thinking of. There's a physicist that had tumors the size of eggs that she resolved that. There's a cancer researcher that had stage 4 cancer, I believe. I could be wrong about the stage, but I believe it's stage 4. Cancer researcher understandably could be a very skeptical person of someone healing themselves, and she healed herself of cancer. It's just remarkable. So that's what's possible. So how to embrace change and lack of structure. So I love this because I've been talking about some really extreme things, and lack of structure. I would say to myself as much as I can throughout the day, things are always working out for me. I love my life every second of every minute of every hour of every day. And I would put an emotion to that. I would put a strong emotion to that because when I say those things, I do feel a strong emotion. And to go from a couple days ago, I did a video about the to find the tiniest movement toward feeling what we want. And to begin there, to begin with the tiniest movement. So it might be a big jump to go from I hate my life, these kids, there's lack of structure, the kids are home from school, we got all these things going on. It's just every aspect of my life is bombarded by a variety. This is goes back to what I was saying about movement. When I go out and move, I look at people doing the same thing over and over, and I try to do the opposite because when I have sat in stillness, sometimes I'm sitting on a chair or a bench, or I've actually laid down and I've been focused for an hour or more, and that was one of the most challenging, difficult things I've done. And it looked like I wasn't moving at all, but my focus was so strong and so there's so much of a feeling of of this is what I want to do. This is my intention. There's a strong feeling with it, a feeling of happiness and joy and enthusiasm and being thrilled about it that I have been in laying down that I was doing more for the health of my body than I could ever do doing a, a, a 5 or 10 yard walk where I'm ooh, and I'm just have terrible thoughts going on and I just want to get done with it and I just can't wait that it's done and I'm just stressed the entire time and I'm yelling at everyone that's going by and if anyone uh, bumps into me I yelling upset and he's like, oh my gosh, I want variety of movement. So if I'm walking, I love to walk like this, meaning I'm not walking in a straight line. I'm walking in like I see people doing this is what I see people doing a variety of movement when they are walking their dogs. There's a lot of variety. The dogs want to stop and smell things. The dogs want to go around and around and around. They're not going in a straight line when they walk their dogs. There is some variety. It's wonderful. People that walk their dogs are often the happiest people out in nature. It's wonderful. So instead of just I'm walking, running, biking in a straight line. Oh my gosh. And then I'm on my phone. Talk. We are robots. What we could do is have some variety to it. So when we have embracing change and lack of structure, that's adding variety. So I would just, as much as I can throughout the day, when I feel myself tempted to get frustrated, I would slow myself down because it's an opportunity to go through rapid change. The volume's going up and down. People are running around, children. Children love to yell sometimes. It's fun. When kids are, when they're not, if they're not beating each other up and hurting one another, but they're just having fun yelling, that's wonderful. Encourage that. There's a place for that. Playgrounds, backyards, where there's a clear boundary with a fence, hopefully. So, how would I embrace change? One of the things when I talk to people, often people will say, well, you don't understand. You don't have kids. And I don't say this out loud, but I wholeheartedly and respectfully disagree. A lot of times people say that before they even know for sure that I don't have children. And I'm not going to share whether I do or not. But whether I do or not, everyone has children. This is how. Everyone had a childhood. And our parents had the responsibility to parent us. But they partnered with us in parenting us. And when we got to 18, we took over the responsibility to parent ourselves full time. When we when when we moved into puberty, we began to consciously begin to take over the 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 to begin to make choices. So legally in the United States, legally when people reach the age of 18, they take over the parenting themselves. So we partnered with our parents. Our parents legally had the guardianship over us, but we actually over time slowly began to learn how to parent ourselves. Self-soothing, teaching ourselves how to work through emotions, teaching ourselves how to read, how to do simple math, how to tie our shoes, how to eat, how to exercise, how to make friends, all these things. We're parenting ourselves. Everyone, whether you are conscious of it or not, we are parenting ourselves. You are parenting yourself. So, not only that, but I have made a decision to, as much as I can, educate myself around parenting. And I am not, by the way, not an expert in anything, including parenting. I have no advice. Even if I had children, I wouldn't be a parenting expert. So it's understandable that someone would say, well, oh, you don't understand. You don't understand what it means to be a parent. Well, I remember what it's like to be a child. I parented myself. And I'm parent when I am walking down the street and there is a school and children are saying things to me. I'm not their guardian, but making a very tiny parenting decision. My parenting decision is to mostly not talk to them because those are not my children. That's a parenting decision. If someone waves at me, little child waves at me, and I think it's polite to wave back, that is a parenting decision. I don't have to do anything. Doing nothing is a parenting decision. That's a child. I respect children. People say, respect women, respect children, respect the elderly. Yes, respect them. They deserve respect. They are in a position where they deserve respect. And I respect parents. I respect their children. And that's a decision I make. There are people in my life. I'm not. So, all of what I've said, it's debatable, but it's my opinion that I am. Um, I have experienced parenting mostly with myself, but if I think of myself, I'm not trying to take credit for someone else's parenting. But if I am considerate of someone and I think, you know what, I could somehow influence this child's life. So I'm going to decide how would a parent act? That is how I parent. That is my opinion. We There are so many exceptions to this and there's so many people going around just like treating children like they're garbage and like they're nothing, and they are not being a good example of how to live successfully in the world. That's clear. But the point is, I do have some valuable experience, but I am not an expert. And I also grew up in a home where there was several children at all times in the house. So it is so tempting to to just criticize myself for what I'm talking about and to shame myself. And I want to go back to the beginning where I said, um, oh, what was it? The very beginning here. Don't ever feel guilty. It's funny because I probably talked about this more than anything. Don't ever feel guilty about anything you ever do, good or bad. I probably talked about that more than anything. The original topic I wanted to talk about was how to embrace change, and it's interesting because the conversation changed naturally. I talked more about don't ever feel guilty or ashamed about anything you ever do, good or bad. So it's tempting to feel ashamed about what I talked about because it's tempting to criticize, oh, I was too loud. Oh, the energy wasn't good. Oh, I was rambling. Oh, I talk so much. Oh, I have opinions that are controversial. Things like that. No, it's not necessary to feel bad. I feel good about everything I said. And I welcomed people to disagree. And I am always, no matter how professional what I'm talking about looks, I am always practicing. I'm always learning. I'm always growing. So, um, so therefore, things are always working out for me. One of the things that I'm trying to embrace within myself is how often I sound like I'm in a bad mood. Often I sound uh, like confrontational or angry or and I am utterly thrilled. I find myself saying this a lot. I am utterly thrilled. Because I am. I'm enthusiastic. It can be taken as something else. It can be taken as, and so trying to encourage myself to feel good about what I'm doing and what I've done. And I'm so thrilled. I'm so excited about what the things are to come. I'm doing YouTube lives, Instagram lives, um, Facebook lives. I'm trying to get on other platform lives and then doing other videos on my YouTube and posting. But what I really enjoy doing is doing a longer conversation. And I'm looking forward to engaging in those and going live with other people. It sounds really fun. So thank you so much for watching and listening. I wish you happiness and I wish you to consider developing a happiness practice and spending time in stillness and risking feeling boredom. I love boredom. It's so fun because my life is so thrilling and exciting. It's so nice to bring some balance to that. Yes, you're the best.